I want to do an insight today, just around consciousness, really, around um, connecting again to like the universal laws of vibration. The last couple of days, I've had a lot of different kind of thoughts that have been going on in my in my own sort of energy, in my own energy field, and you can feel those start to manifest within your own energy field, and you feel they sit in your own sort of like energy. I've been having a lot of sort of like thoughts that have been coming up and they've been reoccurring, and this is to do with what you're creating consciously. So again, this comes down to like universal law of vibration. Again, with what you resonate, what you're vibrating at, and what you're creating, and part of it connects into like co-creation. So it's really important at this time that we watch our thoughts, we watch our feelings, we watch our emotions, how we use them. And a lot of the stuff I've been sort of like listening to lately have been around like 5D reality, and a lot of people seem to have this notion like 5D reality is very much around sort of like judgment and non-judgment as well. And there's a lot more to 5D reality than that, than just like non-judgment. But it's very much around sort of again this notion of keeping vibration very high, keeping your energy very high, remaining very open to higher outcomes, higher possibilities. But this is all sort of relates to your consciousness. Your consciousness is like this energy that you've got, like it's not your thoughts necessarily. It's connected into them, but consciousness is like this connection to sort of like your wisdom and your intuition as well. Because like when you become more conscious and more awakened, you start to live in a more conscious way, which is becoming like more aligned with the spirit, being more aligned with the source, and more aligned with like your higher self as well. And this is part of what's going on at the moment. This is part of the shifting that's going on. Is that we need to align more with that. So consciousness is this creative force. It's part of like co-creation. It's this energy. So depending on what you consciously create around yourself, it also this links to again like the law of like cause and effect, but also the law of attraction as well. Your consciousness is like this living, breathing, vibrating energy, this frequency. And what you're consciously creating is what you're consciously creating for your outer world, for the reality. So again, it's interlinked. So again, your consciousness again is linked to again compensation again with what you're giving and you're receiving and you're sending out there. And again, obviously, this is again what's coming back into your own energy field. So consciousness is really really important. So being conscious is being more aware, being more open to like spiritual insight, spiritual understanding, spiritual wisdom, how you imply that and how you embody that as well. So consciousness is a really important thing, and this is why I wanted to talk about it today, because I actually can feel my consciousness shifting depending on what energies and what vibrations and what thought processes and patterns that I'm sending out there. So I can feel that physical, um, like creative process happening or unfolding, and like my level of consciousness is shifting and changing depending on what I'm creating as a spiritual being and the energy that I'm sending out there. But the more we become aware of that, the more we can see that actually it is sort of important about what we create, what we co-create, and what energy frequencies and energy sort of vibrations that we put out there. Because actually that is part of what the awakening and waking up to is. This in this sort of like this time is very much about. So it's about sort of like really drawing in that higher consciousness, that higher awareness, and that connects to again to your higher self, the source, your intuition, all those kind of things. So this is how we start to really create that higher frequency of consciousness, which is what I want to talk about. And again, this comes back to this universal sort of law of where they talk about like correspondence, where you go inside and then you sit in there, and you start to sit in like this sacred space or your own sort of like, I mean, everybody talks about these sort of like ethereal temples, like etheric temples or ethereal temples, in the ether or in the planet, like which are like the fifth dimensional realities or sixth dimensional realities. And you've got like Shambhala, and they talk about Telos. But each and every one of you has that core within yourself. You all have your own inner temple. You have your temple of light that lives and sits within you. And how I know this is because when I get to stages where I feel I'm connected into that source, I become and feel like I'm just light. I become like a light body. So I know that light, sits in with each and every one of us. Because when you open your heart and you open yourself up and you start to flow with the universe and that source energy, and again you start to connect into this sort of like first ray, which is again this is our mora, the divine will. When you start to connect into that, you start to align, and it connects to the universal law of oneness. So you start to become in tune with your source energy that lives in you, but also the source, the source, the infinite source that is, um, whatever you want to call it, God, the Great Spirit, or whatever you want to call it. I always call it source, but it's the source energy, this infinite sort of like intelligence that works with us and through us. But we're also born of that, so we know that we're infinite as well. And it's about that creation again. It's about opening up and creating. So this universal law of correspondence is that you sit within, and you sit within your energy and you open it up, and as you open up that energy, then obviously that sort of like then starts to create this outer world that will be more aligned with this spiritual um, energy, this spiritual frequency, this spiritual vibration. This source energy starts to flow through you, and it starts to flow into the outer world. And then this is where your spiritual reality is created. And this is a bit like when people say like heaven on earth. This is how I see it. When we're aligned with that source energy, and when we're back to connecting to spirit, we are heaven on earth. I am heaven on earth, and I'm heaven on earth because I am in my source energy, connected to source, and then it's creating this source reality, or this spiritual reality outside, which is the fifth dimensional reality, which is heaven on earth. So heaven on earth is this concept of where you start to dissolve this veil, and you start to connect in with the fifth dimensional reality, where we're living a more spiritual life, and we're living in a more spiritual way, but we're living in a more energetic way. We're becoming less connected to the physical dense objects and like the physical body, and we're becoming much more connected to the light bodies and the light frequencies that are within us, which are connected to spirit. So our bodies vibrate in a different way, and then our bodies start to hold vibrations and higher frequencies, so we feel it differently because we start to then open to the the energy of spirit, and the energies of like light, the energies of like vibration, the energies of frequencies, and we start to do that. But then once we start to do that, then we open up our whole energy system within our body, which allows us then to connect to the other realities, the other realms. And this is where we start to connect into the some of the universal teachers, the ascended masters, the angels, the guides, are all there. When we hit that frequency, then we start to become open to that universal community, or that brotherhood of like they say, like the white brotherhood, the brotherhood of light, or spiritual teachers, universal beings, planetary beings, celestial beings, whatever terminology, because there's so many different sort of frequencies and energy frequencies out there, and like guides and angels. There's infinite numbers because there's an infinite sort of energy source out there. So yeah, and that's what this is really about. This time is we need to raise that consciousness. As I connect into consciousness, I feel it's like white. I feel it's this very white energy. Consciousness to me then, if it comes across like being very white energy, see, white holds a lot of different frequencies, or a lot of different colours. So it magnifies, it amplifies, and it sort of like, it gives you sort of like, it heightens sensitivity, it heightens energetic frequencies, it heightens abilities, it opens you up, it gives you crystal clear clarity, it dissolves, it purifies, it awakens, it does so many different things. And the consciousness is like that. So it's like this infinite source, this infinite frequency that can be expanded, and at each time the consciousness like expands and awakens, then it dissolves another layer, which is like, at the moment we're in a third dimensional reality, and if you were to see as we start dissolving like the third dimensional sort of we're not so connected or attached to it, then the fifth dimensional opens up, and then like the sixth dimensional open up. It's like each one is a layer, and every time our consciousness shifts, that layer dissolves, and then so that the layers of like this veil between the spirit world and us keeps dissolving, and every time it keeps dissolving, then it becomes thinner, and then you start to see with different, like you see with different perspective, you see with like spiritual eyes or with different clarity. So it's very much around that at the moment. So it's about opening up our energy, our energy systems, and it's also opening up our consciousness to start to really expand, and start to really integrate and embody and walk those spiritual principles that we need to do at the moment, which is very much around the universal laws. So it's very much around the universal law of oneness, knowing that we're all interconnected, that nothing's separate. Universal law of vibration is so important, that you are, whatever you're sending out there, the vibrations, try and keep your vibrations high, keep your energy frequencies high, because if you keep them high, then you'll connect to the higher awareness. You'll connect to your own inner source. You'll connect to like a higher understanding, a higher wisdom, intuition. You'll connect to the source where you'll receive this information, you'll receive this understanding, and your consciousness will shift, and then your reality will shift, because they all shift together, again, because everything's all interconnected. It also connects to like the universal law of correspondence, where you go within, and this is where you connect to the source, and again you become aligned with it. You dissolve in these layers. Your consciousness helps dissolve these layers of like third dimensional reality as we move to the fifth dimensional reality. But it also helps you to go into a place where you feel that light, that energy, that source within yourself. And then also this is where you get your wisdom, your intuition. Again, this connects to the universal law of inspired action, where you start to then use your intuition, use your understanding to create a different reality. And again, this connects again to your consciousness. So it's very much around that. You've got the law of cause and effect. Again, what you're sending out there. Every time you send something out there, it's an effect. So it's also be mindful of what energy and what frequencies you're sending out there, because each vibration, each frequency has an effect, and each one has a cause. So if you cause something, it's going to have an effect. Universal law of attraction, again, this is to do with consciousness, this is to do with energy. The universe is attracting or mirroring only what you're creating. You've got the universal law of compensation, again, which can be the universal law. I mean, people say it's like reap and sow, but I very much like the definition, or the discussion of it being like the universal law of tenfold. What you give out, if you give out freely, then you receive it back tenfold, and I quite like that one. So it's about learning to really give for the highest outcome, the highest ideals. The universal law of perpetual transmutation, which is again to do with energy, and this very much connects to the universal Saint Germain and the violet flame, and the seventh sort of ray. And it's very much around sort of like it transmutes, transforms, and changes. But you also know that energy is an infinite source. It's always vibrating. It's an infinite source of energy. It's like a building block. It's a blueprint. It's the sacred geometry very much connects into. It's a blueprint. It can be used depending on what vibration you send out there. If you raise that vibration, and you raise it with these higher sort of like love, joy, peace, happiness, harmony, all those kind of things, then that's a very high vibration. So that will obviously create a blueprint of your life of being very much like that, or being a reflection of that. And it's very much around that, and this is what perpetual transmutation does. It's energy that can be changed, or it can change form at any time. It's like when we die, we don't die, we just transform into a different kind of form. We go from one energy form to another, and it's very much like that. And the perpetual transmutation in this life is very much around that. It's saying, you can change that energy, you can change that frequency, and using that will, again with the Almora, the divine will, at any time using that will, you can change and transform your life. Nothing's stuck, and the past is gone, and the present is here to like create, but the future isn't here. So it's just a case of just creating within the moment and being within the moment, and really, really, as long as you keep creating within that moment from a place of light and truth and wisdom, and keep raising that consciousness, then your life and your reality will very much shift. And this is what this time's about. This is what heaven on earth is about. It's saying to you, you have that ability as a spiritual being to create that reality. Heaven on earth is here. I am heaven on earth, and it's like this I am presence again. I am truth, I am light, I am love, I am heaven on earth. I am one with the universal, you know, spirit. You is I am is like this. You're calling or awakening to this frequency, this creative force and source energy that you've got within yourself, and it's about just doing that daily and opening up to it. I mean, the flow of energy coming through as I'm talking about this is really, really good. But it's all connected into consciousness and reality. And heaven on earth is this concept of being here, and we're creating it. It's already here. It's about you awakening to it because it's always been here. The difference is we've become dormant. We've been asleep. And this is what this time's about. So it's about awakening to that and knowing that you actually, as a creative being, can create heaven on earth. Your heaven on earth is already here. It's just for you to create. And this is what the energy, the source energy, does. It co-creates with you, and it will support you to create what you want, heaven on earth. But it's about you awakening to that source, that energy, that frequency that you've got within yourself to start to co-create that. And no, nothing or no one can do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. And this is what this process is about. And this is why there's so much talk about dissolving and lifting vibrations and frequencies, because the earth has to actually lift and harmonize with that fifth dimensional frequency, which it already is holding. The earth is already holding that fifth dimensional frequency and higher dimensional frequencies, but it's about us as a collective awakening to that, because we won't see them until we awaken to it, like collectively, consciously. And this is what this time's about. So that's the insight for today.